Hello and welcome to Seattle City Makers. I'm your host, Jon Scholes. Welcome to our latest episode. I am pleased to be joined by Kevin Martinez, who was named the President of Business Operations for the Seattle Mariners in October of 2024. He's had a 30-plus year career with the franchise in a number of roles, promotion and marketing. Graduate in Syracuse University, held positions in sports broadcasting on the East Coast before coming to Seattle in the early 1990s. Hope you enjoy my conversation with Kevin Martinez, President of Business Operations for the Seattle Mariners. Well, you're very kind to make time for this. Not that in the season, not that you have an off season as the President of Baseball Operations for
business operations.
For
you want Jerry doing the baseball
part
of
it.
You don't
crowd
want
into
me
Jerry's
territory,
there, but you're busy throughout the year.
Yeah.
But we particularly appreciate you coming in early.
This is great.
This
Thank
season.
you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, we were due because we've had leadership from the Sounders, from the Kraken. Who else? We've had most of the sports franchises.
Right.
We've certainly talked Sonics, and we look forward to talking to their ownership, whoever they may be, when they when they return.
Looking forward to that as well.
But sports are so important to our downtown, and we're fortunate, as I often say on this podcast, to have our two stadiums plus the arena so close to our downtown, and it does so much.
No question about it. It's a really unique setup, and I think it's one of the best in the country.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've got such a great stadium. So a lot to cover, and you've been, I think, in your new role for about a year and a half now?
That's right, yeah.
Was there a moment you decided you wanted to be, and you've been with the organization for 30 plus years.
Who's counting?
And I know baseball, something you played growing up, your older brothers played it, your dad was in the minors, you had a close connection to the game. But was there a moment when you decided you wanted to be a president of a baseball franchise?
I don't know if there was a particular moment, John, that I said I'd love to be the president of a baseball franchise. I've just, since day one, loved the work. I think because of the strong connection to the game, and I appreciate you referencing my family. But really, I never thought I would work particularly in the game of baseball. And when I was afforded that opportunity and, moved to Seattle, two things happened for me. The work felt like I was home. And then for somebody who grew up on the East Coast in New Jersey, went to school in upstate New York, was living in New York City, and within a short amount of time coming out to Seattle felt like home. I was just incredibly blessed to never have any doubt in my mind that this is what I wanted to do. And of course, the more that you get involved and grow professionally, you aspire to say, to say, I'd love to run a team someday. And then to have the opportunity to be the president of business operations for this team, it means everything. Super privileged to have the opportunity. Super privileged to work with an incredible group of people down at T-Mobile Park that I love partnering with every day. So, yeah, it's been a 36-year, journey and a joy, really, to be a part of the Mariners. And as I look at where we are and where we're going, couldn't be more excited for what's ahead of us.
And prior to your baseball career, you graduated from Syracuse.
Yes.
You go into sports broadcasting.
Right.
Was that when you were coming out of school? Did you want to be a sports reporter? Was that what you thought you'd end up doing later in your career?
Well, that was the intent going to Syracuse, and you have classmates like Mike Tirico and Ian Eagle, and you realize, okay, I got some work to do if I'm going to make it.
Is Mike Tirico as genuine and nice as he seems?
Yeah, he's incredible. And it was...
You graduated the same year as
yes.
him.
Yeah. Oh, gosh. Great Mike story. He's a wonderful person and just incredible. I look at my Syracuse experience, and what I was able to take away was the people that were around you. And you were able to see the dedication, the commitment to the craft that they were pursuing. And playing sports my whole life, that was probably the most competitive environment I had ever been in up until that time. To be one of the voices, one of the student voices that got cleared to do Syracuse basketball and football, because only a few of you got cleared to do it.
Fewer of those folks than there are players.
Yeah,
that
right.
you're covering.
And but you had to put in the work, and that was really pivotal for me and my growth to have that experience, and because it was your peers that you were learning from and that were pushing you and supporting you. And that environment is one culturally that I've always, if I had the opportunity, whether it was the marketing communications department, to foster that. Because when we hold each other accountable and we listen to each other and we give space for new ideas, man, it's powerful, and some great results can come from that.
And so you had a couple of gigs in the broadcasting world in Ohio, New York.
Yeah.
And then how did the Seattle opportunity come about?
So I was working at the ABC television network on the Upper West Side of New York City. And prior to getting that job, I had interviewed for a number of opportunities. And a gentleman who offered me a job, and it was at a radio station, MS Broadcasting. MS Broadcasting introduced sports radio. They were the WFAN in New York City, was the first sports talk radio station. The gentleman offered me a job. I didn't take the job, but I stayed in contact with him. Well, he becomes the vice president of marketing because Jeff Smulyan, the owner of MS Broadcasting, buys the Mariners in the late 80s. And John, it was a random day in April in 1990. I'm in my office at the network and the phone rings. And he says, "Hey, I don't know if you've heard, I'm the new vice president of marketing at the Mariners. The Mariners are in town. We're playing the Yankees. Could you meet me at Yankee Stadium tomorrow night? I want to run an idea by you." And, I'm 22, 23 years old. And I say, "Yeah, congratulations. Seattle? Yeah, no way." And I've got a softball game in Central Park tomorrow night, and we're playing CBS in the semifinals. So that's where I need to be.
Yeah, to be at that age and at that affiliate in that sports town, like that's doing what you were doing.
Yeah.
Like that's a pretty good gig.
Yeah, it was. It was a great gig.
Right? Were you having the time of your life and feel like I made it?
I felt I had a path.
Yeah.
I had just been promoted. I was there 8 months. I had just received a promotion. You could kind of see the path in front of you, right, at that time, which I was incredibly grateful for. And while I loved baseball, I'm like, Seattle, I don't know anything about Seattle. Well, again, being naive at that age, I went to my boss, who was the coach of the softball team, and I said, "I just got this crazy call." And he looked at me in the eye and he said, "You have to go to Yankee Stadium tomorrow night." So I'm forever indebted to him as well, because it was wonderful advice from your boss, a mentor, and I went that night.
Do you think you would have gone if they hadn't?
I don't know. It just seemed, John, so far away, and at that time of my life.
But to the game, would you have gone to the game?
No, I would have went to the softball game to play CBS.
They would have said, "Hey, we're going to miss you for beers after." Oh,
right.
yeah.
Well,
it's funny how those little moments
changed my
right?
life.
Yeah,
changed my life. It really did.
And individual conversations.
Yeah, absolutely. And just being open again. Being open, and I've tried to keep that with me. Having those open conversations with somebody, like, "Oh, I probably shouldn't tell my boss."
Yeah.
But again, there was a great trust, and I'm forever grateful when he just looked at me, he stopped me, he's like, "You need to go have that conversation."
Well, and you came at a time too, right? That the M's did not have a great,
never a winning season.
Yeah, didn't have a winning season.
Right.
Attendance, they hadn't had beat their attendance record from the debut season, right. In '77. So there wasn't a lot of luster around the franchise, but that didn't bother you. You saw an opportunity.
Having that conversation that night and understanding their vision and having this role in the marketing department, and there was such an openness to new ideas and things that hadn't been done in baseball. And they wanted to bring their broadcast background to the Mariners from what we call game presentation, what goes on during the games, between innings, how they were going to advertise the team and market the team. It was so inspiring to hear what they were trying to accomplish, and to be a part of that and be empowered at that age was incredibly powerful.
And I didn't realize just reading up a little bit before our chat of just the number of things that were done under your leadership and your colleagues for the Mariners as far as in-game experience that Seattle really kind of broke ground and led the way on, like the walk-off.
Right. The walk-up
or
music.
walk-up music.
Yeah, and indoor fireworks, right? Nobody had been doing that.
So you had kind of carte blanche to like sort of, try.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Don't push it. Let's be sensible. Let's make sure it's, be smart about it. But if you need to push and do something that hasn't been done, let's do it and see what the reaction is. And wow, what a platform to have.
Was there anything, any idea you had where they're like, no?
Not really.
Or that didn't go how you
there were
you'd hoped.
that didn't go very well, and we learned and we moved past it for sure. And that's going to happen in that type of environment. But to your point, the Mariners had never had a winning season, and the joke was if you left 2 tickets on your dashboard at lunch with the window open, you came back from lunch, there were 4 tickets. So how do you, that was back in the days of actual hard tickets, right?
It's hard to do that now,
That's right. So, we want to be noticed. We want to make news not only locally, we want to make news in the sports industry and nationally. We had a bunch of wild ideas that first year. We did a promotion. Randy Johnson threw a no-hitter, and then Nolan Ryan, I think for the Rangers, had thrown a no-hitter, and the Rangers were coming to town, and we did a thing called Guaranteed No-Hitter Night. We guaranteed you, if you came to the game that night, you were going to see a no-hitter, and if you didn't, you're coming back on us. And of course, the pitchers pitching on that particular evening yielded a hit in the first 2 or 3 innings. It was over, but we brought everybody back on us. Again, it was and trying to keep that spirit through today, I think is, you see it a thread line through, Mariner promotions and the way we sort of communicate and market ourselves as an organization.
Yeah. How did Hot Dogs from Heaven come about?
Yeah. And again, this is if you create that culture and that collaboration throughout your organization, 2 people, Malcolm Rogel in our fan experience department, Tyler Thompson in our marketing group, were chatting one day and brought this idea together, and they were out there testing this idea in the off season, launching hot dogs.
Do they tell anybody, or they just kind of go out there?
Yeah, they're just working it. They're workshopping it, and then when they see they might have something, they bring a group
hot
together.
dog lab.
And how wonderful is that? Again, we have people calling ahead, say, "What night is Hot Dogs from Heaven?" Because we want to come on that particular evening. So it's that's the magic of baseball. When you have 81 home games, you've just got this incredible canvas to make each night, each game special, memorable. How do you achieve that? And create these traditions that are fun and can be shared from by generations.
Yeah.
So it's a really special privilege.
How was it decided that Humpy would finally win the race on Game 5 of the Detroit series, right?
Probably one of the greatest questions that
will go unanswered. Yeah.
Again, it was something that we had been talking about internally as we advanced in the playoffs. Like, when is the time for Humpy to do it? And we had gone along with the narrative that, Humpy comes up short. And it was a decision that was made as the game got into extra innings. the decision was made, hey, if we go into the 15th, in the middle of the 15th, Humpy's going to win.
He's going to get his moment.
And it was a very, very small group that was aware of it, and just what a wonderfully fun moment. And then, of course, to have the team, win it the very bottom of the inning. That epic.
Yeah,
It's
what a
epic.
night in Seattle,
really, really fun.
T-Mobile. So you come to the Mariners when a lot of other incredible players and members of the organization also landed here in Seattle, Ken Griffey Jr. being one of them. What was it like to be around that energy of that kind of that core of Randy Johnson and Edgar and Griffey and Buhner? And,
oh, yeah. I mean, and it's funny, John.
And those are folks you're still, I know, close with, right?
Yeah. Incredible people, and fortunate to have known them for over 3 decades. But yeah, I mean, Junior at an incredibly young age, the face of Major League Baseball, and he's here in Seattle. And, during those years,
marketing gold.
Oh my goodness, yes. And you just didn't know what you were going to see from him every game you went to the Kingdom. And if we had an 8-run lead and Junior was going to get up in the bottom of the 8th, everybody was staying to see Junior's at bat. Junior would have his final at bat, and then you'd see people, the Mariners have this one in the bag. We're heading out. But there was just such an interest in him, and not only dynamic on the field, but incredibly so off the field. And that's, the marketing gold that you allude to, because just wonderful with kids, a smile that could light up the entire city. It was to have him, to sort of break into baseball with him, so to speak, and go along for that ride was amazing. But you mentioned Jay, you mentioned Edgar and Randy and Dan Wilson. And, I said a few years ago, I was at spring training and I was observing the players in our clubhouse, and Cal and Julio and JP and Logan, Brian Wu. And, I said to a colleague, this feels incredibly similar to me, because not only are they exceptional on the field, there's just a cohesiveness. And this group of players has come through the minor leagues together. That's a meaningful experience. Again, talking about cohesiveness among a team. And when you have that cohesiveness, whether it's in business or on a sports team, that's the intangible that takes you to great heights. And those guys had it back in the 90s for sure. And we're seeing it again with this group, which is so inspiring and exciting for somebody that's been around this long. Yeah,
and it's hard to say kind of who the core is, because there's so many strong individuals from top to bottom. And the start of the season's not gone exactly how all of us would want, but coming off a few good wins against Texas here at home, and there's a lot of games to come. But you look at just the talent, and it's like, who is the core? I mean, there's just so many guys that can do so much and contribute in so many different ways.
Yeah. And, that's the beauty of baseball. I think the beauty of baseball lies in that rhythm and repetition, right? The 162 game season, it is a journey. And, the story's told in these short installments, right? Greatness isn't found just in a single burst or a couple of games. In baseball, it's that quiet persistence of showing up game after game after game, and over time those results stack up. And we certainly witnessed that last season. And because of the leadership in that clubhouse and the cohesiveness of that team, they stay healthy. We're gonna be there right at the end. I'm super confident.
A lot of assets.
And now a word from one of our great sponsors. Seattle is stepping into something new. A rebuilt waterfront, a global stage on the horizon, a city finding its rhythm again. On June 4th, DSA members Matt Van Beek and Chris J of MCNW Advisory Partners bring it together, an inaugural summer soiree for the people behind what's next. It's an evening at a new venue overlooking the city, where the lights turn gold and the right room takes shape. 4 to 10 p.m. Request access via the Partiful link in the show notes. For those meant to be there, details await. And now back to our episode. I'm resisting continuing to talk about all the great promotions and, over the years, because that isn't your day job. Clearly, you got other.
But it was a lot of fun.
So what is a typical day for a president of baseball operations?
Well,
and does it differ for you in season versus out of season?
Yeah, for again, overseeing the business team, right? It's there are two seasons. The off season is one of preparation and ideation, and then the season certainly is the execution. And being in this role, having the privilege to lead the men and women on the business side is great. And I come at it, I think, from a little bit of an advantage that I've been there so long, and I knew everybody. We worked together, and the Mariners have always had this spirit of collaboration across departments. So we were really able to hit the ground running, identify our opportunities, and with the momentum that the team gave us going into this off season, to help tell our story and forge new partnerships. We're laser focused, John, on the fan experience. I mean, you talk about the promotions, but that's a big part of who we are, and that fan experience when you walk through the gates of T-Mobile Park. And it was incredibly rewarding for us to hear last year as Mariners baseball got exposed to a national audience, as more national broadcasters came in September and certainly in October, and hearing the feedback that, wow, this is not like any other ballpark in baseball, from an energy and, the things that you do here in Seattle. And we've always tried to be a little different.
Yeah.
We always want to be a sports team that surprises you and keeps you, smiling. Winning does that better than anything. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. But if we can get that fan experience right, married with a successful team, I look back to the early 2000s, and the Seattle Mariners led Major League Baseball in attendance. Yeah. For a market the size of Seattle to do that, you got to have everything going right. And, as we sit here in 2026, we opened that ballpark in July of 1999, and it still feels new, and we're constantly evolving it, trying to listen to fan feedback and make that experience the best in baseball. So, we're dedicated to forging unforgettable experiences, to serving our community, and most importantly, winning championships. So each day in this role, we've got to be moving forward to serve each one of those pillars.
Yeah, and it was great during the playoff run to see both the team, the fan experience, the ballpark get their due from a national
and the city,
audience and folks covering the playoff series.
We take our role as, a key pillar in this city, because we have the opportunity. I mean, we saw it when the All-Star game come to town and people come in and the city shined. I mean, it really, really did. It was middle of July. Of course, the weather was going to be great. But the more we can do that and become a team that receives that national recognition and attention, we have an obligation to help uplift this city. And that's we take that really serious, and incredibly excited about the opportunity that's ahead of the sports community with the World Cup coming to town this summer.
Yeah, and baseball's not shut down during those matches. In fact, you got a couple of overlapping matches and games, right?
And we've got a Friday afternoon where we've got the USA soccer team playing
on the 19th of June.
Yes. And then that evening we play the Boston Red Sox on June 19th. So I think this is going to be the most incredible sports doubleheader in our city's history.
It's hard to beat that.
Yeah, it's going to be spectacular. So we're really looking forward to that day, and have been in close collaboration with the local organizing committee. And I say that as I look at the Mariners, we're really entering into this golden era of Mariners baseball, the way we are structured right now. But I think Seattle sports is also entering into an incredible era when you look at all the sports teams and what's going on.
We're spoiled.
Yeah, the rest of the industry is taking notice of what's going on in Seattle. I mean, I can't recall a better launch of a sports organization than the Seattle Kraken. Maybe the best one before the Kraken was the Seattle Sounders.
Yeah.
It happened here too.
And the Torrent.
Torrent.
They've been pretty all right too.
Yeah,
and they're
fantastic.
Yeah, and
So,
selling out Climate Pledge and
just
setting
such a great
records
vibe,
for,
and
yeah.
the community, the way sports in this community brings people together. Sports has that opportunity in all cities, but there's just such a special spirit among Seattle sports fans that is different. And people, when they come here from out of town, they notice it.
What do you attribute that to? Because I mean, this market is what, 12th or 13th largest media market in the country, 800,000 people, with so many other things we could all be doing.
Right.
There's beautiful environment and the outdoors and nature, and so many of us take part in all of that.
Yeah.
But it's such a hell of a sports town, and there's something about the fan energy and commitment here. And we have such an abundance of professional teams. I mean, more women's professional teams than any, I think, city in North America.
Right.
Is there something you make from covering sports, from being a part of Major League Baseball, what do you think makes this such a great sports town? Why are we so nuts about sports here?
I think it's bigger than sports. I think it's the sensibility of people in the Pacific Northwest that, you see other places that are fantastic, but there is a sensibility of the way people care for one another. There's a genuineness here. We even will applaud the opponent in a respectful way that you won't. I mean, again, growing up in Jersey, like that doesn't happen in Philly.
Doesn't happen out there.
Yeah. And I just think there is. I don't know if I'm able to properly articulate it. I think also geography helps with this sense of pride, being tucked all the way up in the corner. And when we are able to be noticed for success, people do stick out their chests and rally around it and are incredibly proud of their sports teams. And again, I think sports teams have this wonderful platform to bring people together and to show that community pride.
Yeah. Well, it's been a great year to be a sports fan in Seattle, and the M's have been a huge part of it.
Yeah.
What was your first job that you took a paycheck for before your broadcast gigs?
Well, the first job that I ever got, I don't know if I actually got a paycheck, but I was and I don't think they have these anymore, a paper boy. I delivered newspapers. And I rode on my bike. I had this big bag and the newspapers in there. It was the News Tribune in New Jersey in Middlesex County. And I must have been in 8th grade driving around, but that was the first time I actually got paid for a job. Had a number of odd jobs through high school and college, but that was the first. Yeah.
And technology in the game now.
Yeah.
What do you make of how we see technology being brought into baseball? And do you should we expect more to come?
Well, I give Major League Baseball a lot of credit, and John Stanton, our managing partner and chairman, led the competition committee, and
in making the decision around
the pitch clock.
Yep.
This is one piece of technology that somebody who is a bit of a traditionalist in a lot of ways when it comes to the game being played on the field. The idea of a clock in baseball was very foreign, and I proceeded with caution. But the amount of research that baseball did, and the length of game, and why fans weren't gravitating towards baseball, the biggest pain point was length of game.
Yeah.
And to have games now come in at 2 hours and 38 minutes on average right now this year, that's decidedly different than 3:15, 3.5, and it makes for a swifter game. And it had just gotten out of control, this ballet of the batter stepping out after every pitch and adjusting his batting gloves, and then the pitcher stepping off the mound and wiping his brow. And it just got out of control. So the clock has brought, because if you watch games from the 70s, none of that happened. This was just an evolution.
We had faster games.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, decades ago.
Oh, yes. But over time,
it's all the equipment, right? Yeah. And the fashion and
just has got to feel right. Got to feel right. So the clock was wonderful. And then this year, big piece of technology is the automatic balls and strike,
right?
Which I'm fully supportive of.
Yeah.
I think it's added a really cool element to the game. It hasn't
added much time.
Added much time at all. It's amazing how quick it is.
Do you think we see more of that? Do you think there's a day we don't see umps?
I think there will always be umpires, right? And I think it's using the technology to get the call right.
In the minors,
maybe someday, John. I'm not going to be around for that, but maybe someday.
And the minors have been kind of a testing ground for some of this, right? They were doing this last year,
yes,
at some level.
And what a great way to test these things, to see if it works, right? As opposed to, hey, we're going to try it at the major league level and perhaps affect the game in a negative manner. So. But yeah, I mean, it started with replay, and there have been, these other areas that in the end have improved the game from a fan experience and from a competitive standpoint.
I'm bouncing around a little bit, but I want to go back to, how do you interface and work with Jerry and Justin? What is that day to day?
Look like? We're right next door to each other.
Yeah.
We were meeting earlier today on a couple of topics, and there is such a transparency with Jerry and Justin that helps us on the business side, and such a willingness to help us to bring partners together, and how partners can help them in their needs. It's a constant dialogue between us, and that doesn't always happen at sports teams. Sometimes the team operations can be separated. In some buildings, they're completely across the street or on the other side of the building.
Yeah.
And there's a real divided line. And we don't have that at the Mariners. So that constant communication and collaboration is something that I cherish, and has yielded the success that we're seeing.
Have you found some peers around the country that you're leaning on to learn from, people that have held your role for some time with other organizations? Yeah,
and that was really quite moving when I was promoted, to have those folks reach out.
Yeah.
And
folks I'm sure you've known for some time.
And some that, honestly, hadn't met yet in that role. It is a very supportive community, and it's not just limited to, Major League Baseball. Somebody who I deeply admire here in town is Todd Lewicki.
Yeah.
And to be able to pick up the phone and talk to Todd and Victor over at the Kraken, to go have lunch with those folks, bounce ideas, and Chuck Arnold over at the Seahawks, just incredibly grateful. And they've been so supportive. So that's the neat thing about this industry is how much support there is among, not just this role, but all roles.
You don't have to go far to find some great sports executives.
No, we got a great community. One of the best.
We do.
Yeah.
So we were chatting before we started recording about the Ichiro statue unveiling and the bat that went bust.
Yes, that's a good way to
Your team did a pretty incredible job of pivoting. Tell us how. So the bat busts during the unveil. Bat snaps.
Yes.
Then what?
Well, we all tried to stay composed in the moment, but
don't look at the bat.
As I was
don't make eye contact
with you, James and Brendan, before. We had a lot of things that we were anticipating that could go wrong, and how are we prepared for street noise and a number of other things. Weather, we had a weather contingency. Never in a million years, John, did we have the statue snapping as a possibility. And when it did, incredibly shocking, embarrassing. My heart broke for Ichiro Suzuki, who is, his career is a model of perfection. And here is this very imperfect bat that just snapped. So we got through the ceremony and we huddled up in my office with the marketing communications team and said, okay, we hadn't planned for this. What are we going to do? And again, that culture of openness and bring all ideas forth. We said we have to own it, right? And then is there a way we can have a wink or have a smile on this? And our social team brought forth the idea of, well, we've got the statue giveaway. What if we created a graphic and said we're making a little change? And said it's brilliant. It's still embarrassing, but we're going to do that. And we've gotten some really nice feedback on that. But if we could do it all over again, John, the bat would be straight up fine. We don't want those opportunities. But really proud of the way the team responded to a very difficult situation.
Yeah,
no doubt. We had a welder out there that night. We're welding it and fixing it, and the company, the artist we have worked with for a number of years now, and they did the Sue Bird statue and Lenny Wilkins, and they did the Don James, and it's just one of those things that unfortunately I'll never forget because it was not
great pivot. And,
yeah.
Credit to your team.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to close out with our final question, Kevin.
Yes.
What is your perfect Saturday in Seattle?
Well, it's a day like this, that's for sure.
Spring is here. It's baseball weather out there.
For me, it would start at Green Lake. I would do a run around Green Lake. That's kind of my happy place.
Yeah.
I love running that lake. I've done it for a number of years, and Saturday or Sunday, it'll start with a tour around Green Lake. That's usually followed up by a visit to a little spot up on Queen Anne called Five Spot.
Oh, yeah.
And I'll go up there for some breakfast. Love coming downtown to shop and just hang during the afternoon. And then, of course, I would end it with a Mariners game on a Saturday evening.
Of course.
There's no better experience for me than that. The perfect place for me to be is in a ballpark. So ending it at a Mariners game at T-Mobile Park would be the end of a perfect Saturday for me.
That sounds all right.
Yeah.
That sounds all right.
Right on.
Well, thank you for making time for this
thanks for
and for your leadership with this great franchise and all you've brought to the team and our city over your 30 plus years.
Yeah,
and I look forward to your vision and your leadership continuing to make a mark. And really appreciate you making time for this. I know how busy you are, and I could talk to you all afternoon.
Yeah, it's fun.
But thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Really appreciate
Thanks for having me, and we'll see you at the ballpark.
Yeah, go M's.
Right on.
Thank you to Kevin for making time to join us on Seattle City Makers. Hope you enjoyed that conversation. What a great guy, what a great leader, and we're lucky to have him at the helm of this great franchise. So thanks again to Kevin for joining us. I want to close out with a recommendation of something you just can't miss in downtown Seattle, something to check out. And I want to highlight the recently opened Greenway on the Seattle waterfront. That's part of the LA Bay Connections project that now gives you a lovely 10-foot plus wide path protected from cars for cyclists and walkers and joggers and everybody else between Pier 62 and the Olympic Sculpture Park. It's part of the LA Bay Connections project, which also includes $40+ million in improvements that will soon be complete to Myrtle Edwards and Centennial Park, just north of the Olympic Sculpture Park. New restrooms, new paths through those parks, and lighting and a new concession building. It's going to be terrific. Keep your eyes open for the opening of those improvements later this spring, but go check out that new greenway. It's a delightful walk, and we've got great springtime walking weather, so get down to the waterfront. Thanks, everybody, for joining us on this episode of Seattle City Makers, presented by the Downtown Seattle Association, with support from James Cito and production by Thread